Before we get into the show, I just want to let our viewers know what we'll be talking about may be distressing to some, so feel free to click off and come back in a couple of minutes. It's safe to say that 2020 has been a very tough year for everyone. With an ongoing pandemic and the uncertainty of the election, people are dealing with a lot, and for some, it is too much. Late last month, one student decided to take their own life. The death sparked outrage online, prompting a vigil to be held in front of alma mater. Let's take a look.
Students held a vigil last Saturday, addressing the death of a student who committed suicide late last month, but also bringing light concerns they had regarding how the university has handled student mental health.
We need more resources. The resources that we currently have here at UIUC are insufficient. 20 counselors isn't enough for 40,000 students, and $20,000 isn't enough to fund resources.
Students are also concerned that the university hasn't been properly communicating with students about suicides or suicide awareness.
And we are demanding transparency about student suicides. Like, just the fact that there's been no statement yet. Come on, why are we the ones announcing it?
Sue Stock, an associate director of clinical services at the counseling center, says the reason involves more than just privacy.
And honestly, it's just good practice. I mean, who would come to us if they knew we would be telling everybody, right? It's just such a foundation to the services we offer.
We still can't deny that there's a bunch of suicidal students on campus. So it's like, let's unpack that. Why is that happening on our campus?
Serena and Janina both believe that the university isn't doing enough to support students. Sue disagrees and says that the counseling center faces another issue instead. Sue says that one of the issues that the counseling center faces is the spread of misinformation here, and here.
One of the things that does concern me when people have inaccurate information is that if they put that out there, then that might discourage somebody who does need help from getting help.
Instead, Sue encourages students to get involved to help make decisions. To that extent, some may agree with her.
This is something that all students can get behind. This is all students struggle with.
At the same time, Sue agrees that the counseling center can do better and welcomes feedback.
And truthfully, if students have ideas about how we could be better marketing or getting our information out there, we would be more than happy to hear that.
In Champaign, I'm Jose Zepeda. Good morning, Illini.
And we would like to take a moment to remind everyone watching that if you are or anyone you know is struggling, you're not alone. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available at 1-800-273-8255. Their website also provides resources on different scenarios that people might be struggling with. Champaign County also has a crisis line number, and they can be reached at 217-359-4141.
Sometimes it may feel like there isn't anything that you can do for your mental health. But in reality, there are so many different resources. Joining us now is Carrie Offenstein, a community outreach coordinator for the Two Roads Wellness Clinic here in Champaign. Carrie, we're so glad to have you with us today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us on.
So, just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about the Two Roads Wellness Clinic and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Two Roads Wellness Clinic is very unique in terms of a mental health clinic. It has we have nurse practitioners, a medical team, we have a nutrition team, we have many therapists, we have emotional support animals. We conduct something called gene site testing that actually helps take a lot of the guesswork out of antidepressants and prescribing of psychotropic medication. So we have a ton of different services, and we have a location in Danville and one that's in the southwest corner of Champaign at the crossing, but we also just opened a location that is directly next to campus on University Avenue. So we're really hoping that this will give students some place that they can go for long-term, low-cost counseling.
Well, that's great. Knowing that, what are some ways that students can de-stress while being safe during the pandemic?
I didn't quite hear your question. How can students de-stress while, what did you say?
How can students stay safe and de-stress during this pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like you guys pointed out, there is just a huge uptick in mental health struggles right now. And it's across age groups, across the nation. But there are also a lot of suicides that are going on because people really genuinely feel pretty hopeless right now. And I think that it's understandable to feel hopeless because we're, constantly bombarded with a lot of negative information and also a lot of confusing information. And so it can be easy to kind of lose track of, is there a future to look forward to and things like that. So I really just want to stress that first and foremost, if you're struggling, you are absolutely not alone. I mean, there are so many people struggling right now. And secondly, it isn't your fault. If you're struggling with your mental health right now, it's very understandable. It's because we're going through something that none of us have been through before. And so I always tell people that the first step is validating yourself, telling yourself that you aren't actually feeling bad, or that, even worse, that you shouldn't feel bad isn't helpful.
So now, what should a student do if they feel like they're really struggling with their mental health?
Struggling?
Nope, we lost audio on Carrie here for a second. We're going to try and get that back.
Hear me now?
All right, so now, Carrie, what are some things that parents, friends, loved ones, and professors of stressed out college students can do to sort of provide support and to help a student's mental well-being?
That's a super good question. I mean, I think, the other part of that is that I love that you're encouraging people to talk to other friends and students and professors. If you're in the position of being a person that someone is coming to, I would say there's a few things that you can definitely be sure to do. One is really just listen. A lot of times when people start to get to the place where they feel so bad that they're suicidal, a lot of stuff is really locked inside. And so just providing an open and very non-judgmental, space for someone to talk to you about what they're struggling with, a lot of times can start to alleviate some of that tension and pain inside of people. Another thing is to take all suicidal threats or statements seriously. Call in the help that you guys mentioned earlier. You don't have to personally be suicidal to call a crisis line or a suicide hotline. They actually also are very familiar with giving tips and advice to people who are close to people who are suicidal. And, really the last thing, I think that it's just important to understand that it's okay to ask people if they're having those thoughts. I think I've worked in crisis intervention and things like that for a long time. And a really common misconception is that if you ask someone, if your friend is telling you that they feel really bad and you say, are you suicidal, that you're going to give them that idea or something like that. But that is never the case. If someone already has those thoughts, then you asking them can really provide a release for them to talk about something that's so dark and locked inside. So providing that space, not judging, not being afraid to ask hard questions because they're in a hard place. Those are all really good things to do.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insight, your advice, and your perspective. We really appreciate it, and it's a great thing for the campus community to be aware of.
Too, and thank you so much for taking the time to inform students and to talk about this. This is something that needs to be talked about because everybody is really struggling.
Thank you again.
If you're looking for something to clear your mind and distract yourself for a couple of hours, why not check out Illini Student Musical's ISM Showcase. The showcase will feature 90 minutes of music from famous musicals such as Newsies, Six, Rent, and Dear Evan Hansen. The showcase is the first of its kind for ISM, featuring 3 casts of 9 to 10 people. RSVP online by 11:59 p.m. tonight to secure a spot into the 7:30 p.m. showing this Saturday.
Election Day was this past Tuesday. It has been a whirlwind of a week with some razor-thin margins. We're going to talk about some of those results today. So one of the biggest races that we had here in Illinois was the seat for state senate. So it was Republican Mark Curran versus the incumbent Democrat Richard Durbin. With about 90% of the state reporting right now, Curran is about 2,170,526 votes versus Durbin's 2,823,999 votes. Obviously, those are still coming in, but that margin is more or less news sources we're calling this for Richard Durbin. Another important election here in the state was, especially for this community, was the 13th congressional district. Was Rodney Davis versus Betsy Dirksen Londrigan. Davis, the incumbent, got 175,883 votes with 99% of the precinct reporting. Some people were expecting that there was going to be more votes for Londrigan, but there's also some speculation here that since students at the University of Illinois and at Illinois State University weren't voting from the 13th district, and rather voting at home, that skewed those numbers a little bit. But it's looking like Davis is going to be in that seat again. Moving on to the presidential race, that's what everyone is talking about right now. Just this morning, we had some news all across the board. Just yesterday, Georgia, Joe Biden took the lead in votes in Georgia. And just this morning, about an hour and a half ago, it was announced that Biden is taking the lead in Pennsylvania. Those are two incredibly important states for this race. Biden is also ahead in Arizona and currently ahead in Nevada. Looking at the projected electoral votes right now, Biden is at 264 projected votes, while Trump is at 214 electoral votes. If Biden gets those 4 states, that puts him very clearly ahead and will very likely make him the next president of the United States. And while we are able to successfully call that and still have some speculation around that one, Good Morning Illini contributor, Joanna Ramo, went around campus and got some student reactions to the election. Let's take a look.
Ballot from my Cook County at home, so I had that shipped out here and then I mailed it back. I actually did the tracking on it, so I made sure that I could see that it went through and that they processed it. So hopefully that makes somewhat of a difference.
I got a mail-in ballot at home and then just mailed it in about a month ago.
Yeah, I went to the ARC, I voted here.
I don't know, I guess personally faced many problems about votes not being counted or heard about anything locally here. I know like in some cities like I guess California and LA, I've heard about like votes being burned and stuff like that, but I haven't heard anything about I have no reason to suspect that my vote's not being counted.
I was an election judge in the last election, and I think it's an interesting system for sure, and I think that maybe just a little more transparency was great for everybody, but I have confidence for sure.
Yeah, and I voted the same way people have always done, so I too have confidence. I think it's going to be a process this week that we have to wait and see how it unfolds. Obviously, it's very close, and both sides have made their claims on how they think everything's gone, but I don't think anyone knows anything for certain until probably by the end of the week.
Yeah, I think we can both agree it's going to be a pretty long, drawn-out process for the most part. So, we're just sitting tight and not really expecting any answers anytime soon. So,
I guess last night, to be honest, I was surprised that like to put it bluntly, I was surprised that Trump got so many votes. I guess throughout the country, and so many states were Republican. And when I looked at it again this morning when I woke up, I think it was a little more balanced. I guess that's what I expected. Like even before I haven't really been following too much of the polls and stuff. So I did kind of expect this to be a pretty close election. So I guess this morning, now the election is more in line with what I thought it would look like.
I think kind of going into it after the last election, it was kind of hard to not lose hope in the sense that the results would turn out differently or that people would vote a certain way. But I think this morning, waking up to it, I kind of had a little bit more hope after seeing some more swing states and seeing their results. So I think last night I was a lot more anxious, and I'm still really nervous right now, but I feel like I have a better understanding of hoping that things turn out okay.
While we all might not agree on who should be the next president, I think we can all agree on one thing: nice weather. So Anna, how's the weather looking like?
Welcome back, Illini. Like I said, it's currently 60 degrees out here. Very unusual weather for November, and the temperatures will warm up to 72. A bit windy today with wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour, so whoa, try not to get blown away. Low tonight of 45, so a bit chilly, but that's okay. Heading into Saturday, high of 72, low of 52. That low is a bit warmer, so that's good. Sunny for Sunday, high of 75, low of 58, so even warmer, so that's good. This weekend, it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to feel like summer, so get outside and enjoy it. I'm not sure how long this will last. I'm meteorologist Anna Dennis with Good Morning Illini. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Anna. I'm so excited about the weather this weekend. I'm going to go to Allerton Park, spend some time outside. But hey, stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more Good Morning Illini right after this. We're still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, but that doesn't mean that other diseases have disappeared. Flu season is quickly approaching, and flu shots are now more important than ever before. I got my flu shot earlier this week, and it was a super painless experience. One of the first times I've gotten it since I was incredibly young. And so now joining us today, we have Christopher Brook, an infectious disease expert here at the University of Illinois, to tell us a little bit about this. Christopher, it's great to have you with us today.
Great, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
So, when people talk about the flu, I know the first thing that I think of is, maybe just having an upset stomach and a bad day. But can you explain what the flu really is?
Yeah, so the flu is caused by a specific virus called influenza virus that is a respiratory virus that replicates within your airways and lungs. And so it can cause a wide array of disease, illnesses, basically from really mild kind of what we call flu-like symptoms through more severe like fever and respiratory complications. And for a small subset of people, it can be lethal.
So flu strains change every year. And how does the flu shot work and keep up with that change?
Right, so that's the big challenge. And so basically every year, several months in advance of flu season, a bunch of researchers and public health experts get together and they look at the data in terms of what strains are circulating and which ones are predominating. And they make an educated guess about which strains of the virus are going to be predominating in the upcoming flu season. And so based on that, they pick 4 different strains to go into the vaccine, and that's to correspond to the 4 sort of different types of flu that are co-circulating. So there's 2 different types of influenza A virus and 2 different types of influenza B virus that infect people. And so, yeah, so every year we kind of make an educated guess about which strains are going to predominate. And most of the time they guess very well and the vaccine works very well. And sometimes they're off a bit and it doesn't work quite as well, but it still always works, even when it's off a bit.
Great. So who is most at risk and who is the vaccine protecting?
Right, so there's definitely an age component to influenza virus risk. And so older people are at much more risk of severe infection outcomes than younger people. There are also an array of different sort of comorbidities that are other sort of risk factors that can predispose you to more severe outcomes. And so different types of immunodeficiencies or other conditions can also result in more severe outcomes.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us some insight on why the flu vaccine is so important.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
All right, and there is still time left for university students to get flu shots for this upcoming flu season. On October 20th and 21st, flu shots will be available at the Veterinarian Medicine Atrium, followed by the Eikenberry Dining Hall on October 22nd and 23rd. The last days to get flu shots are October 26th and 27th at Illinois Street Residence Hall. Flu shots will stay constantly available at Cersei. And if you're still a little scared about what to expect when you get a flu shot, don't worry. Illini's Joanna Ramo gives us a look at what the experience is like.
I just think it's really important to help keep our campus safe this year more now than ever. It's super important to get our flu shot. So I want to do my part to keep everyone safe.
I usually get it every year, but this year it's especially important with everything else going on to, kind of protect yourself as much as you can. I hope everyone gets theirs. It's really important this year, and even if you've never gotten it before, I think this is the year to do it, so hopefully everyone will.
Before I got my flu shot this week as well for the first time in a long time, and it was quick, painless, and everybody should get one. In addition to this, the university has also updated its locations where students, staff, and faculty can get tested for COVID-19. New locations include the ARC, the ACES Library, and the ICE Arena. The testing sites that used to be located at the Alice Campbell Alumni Center, Follinger Auditorium, Krannert Center, and National Center for Supercomputing Applications have all moved indoors. There are no longer testing sites at Freer Hall, Graziano Plaza, Illini Grove, Parking Lot 31, the South Quad, or Washington Park.
In addition to losing testing sites, students have also lost a couple more dining options at the Illini Union. Qdoba Mexican Grill, Garbanzo Mediterranean Grill, and Wendy's all decided to close their gates for the rest of the semester, leaving Einstein Brothers Bagels and Blaze Pizza the only open locations left at the Union. It's not yet known why all 3 restaurants closed, as they did open up for fall semester originally. They're set to reopen for the spring. In August, the Illini Union permanently lost Auntie Anne's Pretzels.
Now, even though those restaurants are planning to open back up next semester, you may not get to visit them as soon as you think. The university is considering canceling spring break in order to help reduce the number of students traveling outside the campus community. Instead of spring break, the semester would start a week later, and 3 additional non-instruction days would be spread throughout the semester. The University of Illinois Academic Senate is expected to vote and have a decision by October 19th. I don't know about you, Sammy, but I'm looking forward to an extended winter break. And you know what else I'm looking forward to? The weekend. Oh, the weekend. Let's check in with Anna Dennis and see what the weather's going to be like. Anna?
Welcome back, Illini. Like I said, it was absolutely freezing this morning, and we did have a frost advisory, but now that is gone. It's currently 48 degrees right now, southwest winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. It will warm up to 58 degrees into this afternoon. We can see gusts as high as 30 miles per hour, so if you're going to wear a hat, hold on to them. Don't blow away. And then heading into night, it will drop down to 35 degrees, and there's another frost advisory, so it will be chilly again. I'm sorry. And then Saturday will be a high of 68 and a low of 48, sunny and breezy. We do have a fire weather watch, but that does not mean you're going to burst into flames on the quad. The cornfields will just there's a chance of some wildfires. And if you're planning on having a campfire that night, I suggest not to, because that could get a little out of hand. And then heading into Sunday, high of 58, low of 38, mostly cloudy with 50% chance of showers. And then speaking of fall, as you can see, the leaves are changing. Fall means the color of leaves changing. Have you ever wondered where the colors come from? Let's learn more.
So that chlorophyll is a pigment, and the pigment is very especially able to harness, certain wavelengths of light. So because it's going to absorb, a lot of red and orange colors, and then it reflects the green light. So we see green because it's absorbing those other wavelengths of light, but it's reflecting green. So chlorophyll is very abundant in plants. It's what's harnessing the energy of the sun to, create its own food. And but there's not just chlorophyll inside of leaves. There are also other pigments. And in the fall, the chlorophyll starts to break down. So the plant is going to try to conserve some of its resources. They're entering a period of dormancy, all of these deciduous trees. So they, for lack of a better word, they're preparing to lose their leaves, and that chlorophyll breaks down and it reveals some other pigments that were sort of masked.
Well, those leaves look absolutely beautiful. Me and Connor were talking, the leaves on campus are easily one of our favorite things about the fall, let alone campus in general.
Yeah, not just on campus, it's one of my favorite things about the Midwest. Sure, we get incredibly hot summers and incredibly cold winters. Why do I live here? But in the fall, it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know how you feel about this area, Sammy, but this time of year, I love it.
Absolutely. I'd also like to say Connor lives here because he specifically gets to hang out with me.
That
being said, stay tuned. We're going to take a break, but we will be right back with more Good Morning Illini.